Okay, today I wanted to tackle the question that comes up a lot, a question about spending money. Why should I have to pay for things that aren't going to benefit me in particularly? Why should I pay for things that aren't going to benefit us today? Right? This is a perspective that you hear a lot of times for politics. You end up talking to a lot of libertarians, a lot of Republicans, where this is really what it boils down to, right? They've got a lot of times people have a nice, cute line with some big words in it that they can talk about small government and, they kind of go off. But when you push them past having to say 3 or 4 sentences, for a lot of people, it comes down to, I don't want to pay taxes. I don't want to have to pay for anything. I don't want to have to pay a single dollar that might just benefit someone else and not me particularly. So I want to tackle that question and ask, well, why should we? Because in some sense, it's a reasonable question, right? Why should you have to pay for someone else? Why is it to your benefit to pay for things that don't directly come right back to you? So that's what we want to look at today. And this relates to a number of things we're seeing today. So we have the pandemic, which we're currently dealing with in society right now, but also this filters down to a number of different things, many of which you've heard Bernie Sanders talk about if our country ran in a different way, this pandemic would be a very different situation. Not that we'd be okay, right? No one's saying everything would be fine, but probably we'd be in at least a slightly better situation than we are in now. So let's take a look at a Trump clip that indicates how we got to this point.
No, I don't take responsibility at all.
You said that you don't take responsibility, but you did disband the White House pandemic office, and the officials that were working in that office left this administration abruptly. So what responsibility do you take to that? And the officials that worked in that office said that the White House lost valuable time because that office wasn't disbanded. What do you make of that?
Well, I just think it's a nasty question because what we've done is...
Okay. I would be remiss if I didn't point out what's going on here. I mean, it's not really the point of this video that we're watching today, but this is ridiculous, right? This is a professional reporter standing up, giving a well thought out, well connected, well researched point of view that is valid. It's a very valid question. Hey, here's what happened, and it looks like maybe things were made worse because of decisions that were made by your administration. What do you have to say about that? And he starts off by calling it a nasty question. No, it's a professional question. And if you're tough enough to be president of the United States, you should be able to field questions like that in a professional way. You should be able to be at least as professional as she is being, which is she's being quite professional, right? She stated her point. It was well-reasoned. You should be able to stand up and give a well-reasoned argument. And sometimes you might have to say, we got a little caught off guard. We didn't realize where this was going. You might have to admit you didn't handle things perfectly. But it's totally inappropriate to call this a nasty question. It's very childish.
And Tony has said numerous times that we've saved thousands of lives because of the quick closing. And when you say me, I didn't do it. We have a group of people. I could ask perhaps my administration, but I could perhaps ask Tony about that because I don't know anything about it.
Again, what is this me? I didn't do it. You're the president of the United States. You're in charge. If it happens in the government by people you appointed, it comes back to you. If you hire someone and that person makes decisions, those still trace back to you, right? He had a whole show about firing people that didn't do the things that he wanted for his corporation, right? That's how he became like a household name. He was famous before that, but that was kind of his big thing, was that reality show where he fired people in his company. He knows about running a business. He's run a business his whole life. He's known for firing people. Your business is affected by the decisions made by the employees there. And this is how it works in the government. If you appoint people and they make certain decisions that go poorly, it traces back to you because you appointed that person. So this is pretty disappointing to see, even for Trump, to sit there and be like, hey, I know I'm the president of the United States, but I'm not the one who individually made this decision. No, but you were part of a budget getting passed that cut funds to the CDC. You appointed people who cut the pandemic team, who did different things to weaken the current situation. You got to own it. You got to stand up to it and own it. All right, let's get back to the actual point here.
Some of the people we cut, they haven't been used for many, many years. And if we ever need them, we can get them very quickly. And rather than spending the money, and I'm a business person, I don't like having thousands of people around when you don't need them. I mean, you say we did that. I don't know anything about it.
You don't know
We're
about
spending,
about
I
the
don't know.
reorganization that happened at the National Security
It's the administration.
Council.
Perhaps they do that. People let people go.
So here we've arrived at the part that's problematic, right? This idea that I only have to pay for exactly what I need when I need it. And he goes on to say, hey, when we need the doctors, we'll get them back quickly. Yeah, I don't think you'll get them back so quickly, because when you fire people, they go find other jobs. They're doing other things. It's not like the doctors are sitting at home jobless because they got fired from the CDC. They've gone on and they're doing other things. Some of them may be doing very different things. So their expertise that they would have for an ongoing hire in the CDC, those skills have started to get blunted for some of them because they're now doing completely different things. So this idea that there's all these doctors sitting at home waiting to spring into action when Donald Trump says, hey, we're ready to pay you now. We didn't want to pay you before, but we're ready to do it now, is ridiculous. Okay? These doctors have other options that they're going to go work on. And if you were fired by the CDC, are you really going to be that interested in going back and working for them once they've decided, oh, now you're useful, so now we'll pay you a paycheck? No, you're doing other stuff. And a lot of what we see in our country today is that this traces back to the CDC not really being prepared for this. The pandemic response team was dismantled. And it was dismantled during Trump's presidency. Right? So, it's one thing he keeps going out and saying, well, we inherited a lot of red tape, right? Again, trying to push this on Obama. Obama's presidency built up the pandemic response team after the Ebola outbreak, which fortunately wasn't a big problem for the United States, but it was a wake-up call, and we said, maybe we should strengthen this pandemic response team. Maybe we should make sure that the CDC is ready for the next time this happens, which didn't take very long, few years. Now we're in the current crisis, and the CDC was broken down. Why? Because there's a lot of people who don't want to pay taxes for things that you can't specifically prove to them, hey, this $1 is going to benefit you by $1 if you pay it. If you can't guarantee that I'll see that whole dollar back in one way or another, they don't want to pay for it. And this leads to the deeper issues that Bernie's been trying to talk about, where he says, look, we're in a bad situation here because there's other things that people don't want to pay for, like health care for all, right? Medical care for everybody, because right now there are people at home who are sick and should be going to the doctor, but for various reasons, they're not going to go, right? Some go, I can't afford to go. If I go to the doctor, I can't afford $1,500 bill, couple $1,000 bill, whatever it's going to cost in order to get this taken care of, so they just stay at home. And in the meantime, they're going to end up infecting people. So yeah, this is a situation where if everyone felt comfortable going to the doctor, right, which is a basic human need. When you're sick, you need to be able to go to the doctor and get help. We don't allow people to have that, and so some people aren't going to go to the doctor, right? They're not going to do it. We won't. It's kind of outside the current conversation, but there's also people not going to the doctor because they're afraid they might end up getting in trouble with the law because maybe they're undocumented, right? Which is another situation, but it's not good. This is a case where we want people going to the doctor if they are sick, right? And as a country who is not very big on social safety nets, sure, we've got a couple. There's unemployment insurance, there's a few things. But in general, we are a society who many people view it as being shameful to have safety nets for people. Then this situation is going to expose all of those. I mean, look at the jobs. The CDC is telling people, do not go to work. You're going to spread the virus to the people at work, or you're going to catch it from someone at work. You're going to give it to your family. But I get it, right? I know for most of my life, I was in a position where if this happened when I was in a different position than I'm in now, I'd go, I don't know how I'm going to pay my bills. I don't know how I'm going to have money to eat. I don't know how I'm going to have money to pay my rent. They're talking about people being at home for months. What am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to even be able to buy food when the stores have food again? What am I supposed to do? So I get it. It's a very real situation with stress where people they literally don't know how they're going to eat. And being in a country that doesn't care, and when you say, hey, I'm having a hard time here, they say, well, then you should have worked harder. You should have been smarter about how you did things. You should have prepared. You should have been working harder this whole time, and you wouldn't be in this situation in the first place. We've decided that instead of having safety nets in our country, it's more important that we have a couple hundred really, really, really rich people, and that they have all of the money, and so that there's a significant portion of our population that doesn't even have the basics to get by. And then when we have a situation like this where we're telling people don't go out in public, and they're saying, well, how am I supposed to eat? If I don't go to my job, where does the food come from? How does my rent get paid? And we don't have social safety nets for these people. We're saying that we're going to have some bailouts, but some of these bailouts seem to be going, big surprise, they seem to be going more to companies than they are to people. We'll see when the details come out. Maybe the bailouts are going to help actual people. I have my doubts, but maybe that will happen. But if right now, from what I've read, if you're one of these people that doesn't know how you're going to pay your rent and doesn't know how you're going to buy food, the fact that you might be getting a $1,000 check here in the near future doesn't exactly fix things, right? Doesn't exactly put you at ease. You go, okay, that might get me a week or a few days. That's not going to get me 2 months. So it's important to think about that in our society. A lot of times we get locked into this idea. You hear a lot of people thinking about it in this way. If it doesn't turn a profit, then why are we doing it? Well, I think that we are all living right now a situation where if we had maybe not been so concerned about profit, things might be a little bit better. I'm not saying they'd be okay and we'd all be going to work, but maybe people would be a little less scared that are at home. Less people would be going to work because they feel like they have no other alternative, and we might be in a better situation than we're in right now. All right, please subscribe if you want to see more similar content in the future, and we will see you later.